Welcome aboard the cruise ship the Crown Princess along with Nathan and Sandy Lawrence on their May 2016 voyage to Alaska via the Inside Passage. Here we see doll porpoises playfully cavorting in the sea waters next to our ship, as viewed from our stateroom balcony en route to Alaska. This is a harbinger of exciting wildlife viewing adventures yet to come as we trek northward. Welcome to the world-famous Glacier Bay in Alaska. Nearly 1 million cruisers come up to Alaska through the Inside Passage each year to see the sights here, thus making this cruising adventure one of the most popular in the world. We were in Glacier Bay for quite a few hours. The bay itself is some 65 miles long with many arms and inlets. We sailed to the very end of the bay. While we sailed up close to several of the many glaciers in the bay, we weren't privileged to see any major calving occurring. Calving is the term to describe large blocks of glacial ice breaking off from the glaciers and falling into the sea. We did, however, see several small calving events. Nevertheless, as gravity pulls the glaciers downhill toward the seawater, we could hear numerous loud cracking and popping sounds as the ice is torquing and flexing. Despite not seeing any major calving going on, we were blessed with unseasonably warm and clear weather. We were dressed in our t-shirts and had to be careful not to get sunburned. This weather is unusual for Glacier Bay, which is often cloudy and foggy, thus obscuring or blocking the panoramic vistas. Yet we had clear view of all the mountains in every direction for as far as the eye could see. Sandy and I viewed this spectacular weather as a gift from the Almighty in heaven, for as we were leaving Glacier Bay, the clouds began rolling in. Many visitors to Glacier Bay are able to see very little of its spectacular beauty due to the fog. Glacier Bay has dozens of mountain peaks that rise up from the area around Glacier Bay. There are numerous peaks from 10,000 to 15,000 feet tall. In fact, in one spot alone, I could see more glaciated peaks than those of the Cascade Mountains of Washington, Oregon, and California combined. I spotted a number of mountains that were substantially taller than the Cascade Mountains' tallest peak, which is located in Washington State and is Mount Rainier, which stands at 14,410 feet tall. This is the famous Marjorie Glacier, which is about 200 to 250 feet high at water's edge. The glaciers in Glacier Bay are called marine glaciers since they start miles up in the mountains and make their way to the sea. Many of the glaciers are extremely large. One glacier in Juneau, for example, called the Mendenhall Glacier, is part of the large Juneau ice field comprised of some 38 glaciers, which together are 1,500 square miles in size. By comparison, the state of Rhode Island is only about 1,200 square miles in size. Most of the glaciers in Glacier Bay are receding quite rapidly, but a few are actually growing. On average, gravity is pulling the glaciers downhill and forward about 5 feet per day. Welcome aboard the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway that leaves Skagway, Alaska and crosses the northwest corner of British Columbia, and then it crosses into the Yukon Territory that borders Alaska. Now this railway follows the route of the 1898 Klondike Gold Rush stampeders as they left Skagway, and then they trekked some 600 miles over mountains and through rugged Canadian wilderness to get to the gold fields near Dawson City in the Yukon Territory. Now, when the building of this railway was envisioned in 1898 to carry the stampeders to the headwaters of the Yukon River near Whitehorse, most railway engineers considered it an impossible feat due to the rugged, if not impassable, mountains with their vertical cliffs and deep gorges. Yet in a little over 2 years, with the help of 35,000 railroad workers and $33 million 1890s dollars, this railroad was built. By the time it was completed in 1900, amazingly or sadly, the gold rush was over. Now it's a tourist train. This railway was considered an engineering marvel in its day and is still one of the most scenic railroads on Earth. The railroad went up to the town of Carcross, which is on the shores of Lake Bennett, and from that point the gold rush stampeders would congregate and build boats and would then float their way over to the, or down to the Yukon River and then go another 500 or so miles to the gold fields at Dawson City. The White Pass Railway starts at sea level and it goes all the way up to the 2,800 foot level of White Pass, which is probably equivalent to about 7,000 foot level in the Cascade Mountains of Oregon and Washington. So it's up there quite high. As you will see, there was still a lot of snow on the ground, and we were right at the timberline where the trees stop. This is the route of the 1898 stampeders, the gold miners that were en route up to the Klondike. And sometimes this area could get to be 40 below zero in the wintertime and have 20 feet of snow. And this is what these men who had gold fever literally slogged their way through, carrying 1 ton, each person 1 ton of supplies up to Lake Bennett, about 70 miles away from Skagway. An absolutely almost impossible feat, but the lure of gold drove them on. This is the old abandoned trestle that we're obviously not going over, thankfully. That's something, look at that. This is the one we're going over right down here. A little bit less steep of a canyon. This view. 888 feet, but it's timberline here. Trees are very small, and this would be about equivalent to 7,000 foot elevation in the Cascade Mountains in Oregon. Alpine country. Welcome to the Yukon Territory of Canada, which is located in the northwest corner of Canada and borders Alaska. How many people do you know who have actually been to the Yukon Territory? Actually, I never dreamed that I would ever go there, but it is absolutely a gorgeous, phenomenally beautiful territory, at least the part that we saw. And we went in about 30 or 40 miles into the Yukon Territory.
We can start putting
the mountains. This is the Yukon Territory, and this is, I don't know if it's Tagish Lake or what, but anyways, we're south or southeast or southwest of Carcross, a few miles. Gorgeous scenery. This is a giant lake. It's about 30 miles long. This is the Eldred Point Lighthouse. It was erected in 1906, presumably to help guide ships. It's near the entrance of Glacier Bay and on the way to Skagway, about 2 hours southeast of Skagway. It was automated in 1973. Still looks like it's in good shape. Passing by it on our way out of Skagway, southeast. So we're heading southeast toward Ketchikan. This is the crabbing boat, the Aleutian Ballad, which was made famous on the TV show The Deadliest Catch. This crabbing boat spent many years up in the Bering Sea, braving the wild and crazy weather, and at several times it nearly sunk, but it barely survived, and at one time it ran aground and the hull was ripped open and it limped back to port and they built a new hull. The owners were so frustrated with this boat that they tried to sell it several times and nobody would buy it, and so they decided to retire it from crabbing in the Bering Sea, and they turned it into a tour boat, which is now a very popular tour out of Ketchikan, Alaska. And it's manned by men who used to operate it out on the Bering Sea, and these men now show you how fishing and crabbing is done. And this is an actual working boat, and it has stadium seating where people can watch the fishermen fish and fish for crab, or maybe crab for fish. I'm not sure how that works. And actually, as you will see, get to touch and hold crabs and experience the wildlife.
Okay, guys. These all three are the same. These are all quillback rockfish. They got really big, long tongues. See? Quillbacks. They call them that because big, long quills on their back. Really inventive name. We catch. There's 30 different species of rockfish up here in southeast Alaska that you can catch out sport fishing. About 10 of them are harvested commercially. So if you go into a restaurant that says,
this is the only place in the world where you will see what we are about to see. Eagles diving for fish that the fishermen on aboard the Aleutian Ballad are throwing out. They're throwing out herring. Now this is illegal to do in the United States. However, we are just off of an island that belongs to some native Alaskan Indians. And this is sovereign territory, so this is technically not part of the United States. And the tribal chiefs who own this island, the Indians who own this island, have given this boat permission to feed the eagles that perch up in the trees along the shore here. And when the boat comes along, they're waiting for the fishermen to toss out herring. And as you see, then dozens and dozens of eagles, bald eagles, come swooping down, and we literally have an incredible sight in front of us. No other place in the world does this happen, and literally it is awe-inspiring. It was an incredible spectacle to behold. Once in a lifetime. Incredible. Never dreamed I'd ever see anything like this.
there's that juvenile right there.
Never gets old, that's for sure. Beautiful. They're so
I've seen them 3 or 4 missing when you really come to the surface of that one banana. Some of them don't even bother trying, they'll just fly over and keep going.
This is fantastic. I've never seen so much more eagles to begin with than just to be in the
Well, you see, we let them settle down first shot.
Hey Terry,
Yeah, they're,
you notice what it says on the side of the boat right here?
yep, like came down the dock.
You guys ready to go crab fishing? Yeah. Your crew's ready to go crab Terry. But how about those eagles, everybody? Isn't that fabulous? Huh? That's America there. And Canada.
There, you got one trying to leave.
Oh, there is a crab on it. Yay! Boy, you're not impressed, man. Better
Oh, we got a couple. That's an odd looking pot.
It is.
What that is, that's a cone pot or a dome pot. If we were commercially
in the middle they go. That's how they get into the pot. So we're gonna let you guys hold these crab, okay? Now they got pinchers so they can pinch. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold them out by the ends of their legs right here. If you grab right here, he's gonna reach around and try and grab you just like that. So don't do that. If he does get a hold of you, he's gonna apply some pressure. If you jerk your finger out quickly, it's gonna cause more damage. Just kind of grin and bear it. Will you guys bear it? We'll grin. It's hilarious. Don't get bit. So come on out. Everybody's gonna hold. Come on down, you
Me
guys.
holding a crab.
On the deck. Spread out.
Lots of room.
So do you guys actually do anything with these boxes?
That's why we did it.
Close? Hello, Sandy. Fishing for prawns, 360 feet of water.
Oh, we got a few in there. Enough for a shrimp cocktail, kind of like Forrest Gump.
It'll wiggle a little bit, but don't freak out, it won't get you. Just be careful of the nose right here, it is pointy like a dart.
Okay.
Holding a prawn. He's trying to flip out of my hand.
Eyes are really glowing.
There's Sandy.
You're gonna put me in there, okay.
Seasick. Yeah, probably. Look at this. Look at this snare.
Sure.
Hermit crab and an Alaskan spot prawn.
We fish these crab in up to 500 fathoms of water. 6 feet to a fathom. How much is that? 3,000 feet. Let's see what we got today. That's our fancy ankle. Look at that. Does everybody know what that is? That's a giant Pacific octopus, everybody. That one's not too giant stature. He's about 10 or 15 pounds. But that is the species. The largest recorded one ever caught on the west coast of the United States, they say, was 300 pounds. Caught in the Straits of Juan de Fuca. The states in that short time period. They say it's all predicated on water temperature, food source, obviously. There has to be some exceptions to the rule for them to get that big, that they do live longer. I have to believe that. Now, they are highly intelligent.
This is the town of Carcross, Yukon, short for Caribou Crossing. The name was shortened many decades ago by the Canadian Postal Service so as not to confuse it with other towns by the same name. Here at the town of Carcross on the shores of Lake Bennett in the winter of 1898, some 30,000 stampeders, miners who en route to the Yukon Territory, several hundred miles north up in Dawson City, they congregated in a large tent city, some 10,000 tents. And during that winter, they stripped the trees bare in the surrounding mountains to provide lumber to build boats, which they then constructed during the winter. And then they, once the ice broke up on Lake Bennett in June of 1899, they then got on the lake and made their way to the headwaters of the Yukon River, and from there they floated down the Yukon River another 500 or so miles to Dawson City to the gold fields. Thank you for allowing us to share our trip through Alaska's Inside Passage with you through this video experience. A few photos and video clips fail to do justice to the splendor and vastness of Alaska's wilderness. To fully appreciate Alaska, one has to really experience it with all five senses, coupled, in my opinion, with a reverential awe, love, and respect for Yehovah Elohim, who created it all. We took our first cruise to Alaska a year ago and didn't think that anything could surpass the joy and excitement of that experience. And yet, amazingly, our 2016 trip fully equaled, if not surpassed, our 2015 trip. We know some people who take this cruise every year. Now that's saying something about Alaska. Honestly, Sandy and I can't wait to get back to Alaska. Everything in Alaska is so large and it makes you feel so small. It's really an exhilarating yet humbling experience all at the same time. For us, coming to Alaska has not only been a wonderfully fun experience, but a spiritual one as well. We give all the praise to Yehovah Elohim, who created it for His glory and for man's physical and spiritual renewal.